you can apply the term music, I think, to any sound. And that's sort of up to the person describing it. If they want to call that music, then for them that's music. You know, when you listen to music, you have expectations, right? You have expectations that it's doing certain kinds of things. There's something happening, and maybe that thing that's happening will affect this other thing that's happening. You can listen to any sound that way. Now everything's on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, and they have access to so much music. They've heard so many styles and genres, and they're aware of how much is out there, but maybe don't know any of it super deeply. You watch a video, it's gone. You hit the like button, it goes away. Maybe you never hear it again, and maybe you do this all day and never hear the same thing twice, and you don't get to really know it like you know a person.
Okay. Yeah. So, can you please say your name, your age, and what country you're coming from?
All right. Hello, my name is Alfredo Mirense. I'm 19 years old and I come from this country called Honduras.
Yes. My name is Ailén Gomez. I'm 18 years old and I'm from Paraguay, Spain.
So yeah, my name is Ronald Campos. I'm 19 years old and I'm coming from Costa Rica.
My name is Hunter Owens. I am 18 years old and I'm from here in North Carolina near Raleigh.
I'm Scott Marisek, 38 almost, and I'm from U.S., from upstate New York.
My name is Dr. Daniel Wesley McLeod. I'm the director of bands here at Methodist University. I'm 39 years old and I'm from Gary, Indiana originally.
I play guitar and bass, but guitar is my main instrument. I think the first time I ever touched a guitar was when I was 9 years old, back when I was in school, in middle school. It was mandatory to be able to play guitar. And so yeah, that was the first time I ever grabbed a guitar, and I think I started to liking it. I thought it was cool. My mother, who is she's also really fond of music. She doesn't play any instrument, but she really likes music. She likes just playing the radio and everything. And I remember she used to listen only to 80 music songs. I decided that I wanted to play rock songs or everything like that. So I remember looking at my music teacher and he was playing really classic songs like Eye of the Tiger or just Mission Impossible theme soundtrack, and I was like, oh, I want to be able to play like that. And it was kind of self-taught from that point and on.
I've always had a thing for music, like most people, but I was really introduced to a music program my junior year in high school when my best friend Katie was like, hey, you should join chorus because we don't have a lot of guys. And I was like, okay, I don't have an extracurricular and I'm probably going to need one. So that's when I joined. Never thought I could sing until she was like, join chorus. And so I did, and I got there, and I was pretty good just naturally. So
I played violin. I started when I was 6 years old. It was actually my dad's idea. I didn't want to play any instrument. I was more into sports. And then my dad just took me to the conservatory and he was like, you're going to play violin. And then I was like, I don't want to play. So I failed all the subjects. And then I moved to piano, and then I failed piano. And then I was like, okay, Lynn, you have to be you have to take care of what you're doing. And then I play violin again.
I like guitar, but I enjoy it. But piano is my thing. My parents, my dad especially, was always listening to music. He was listening to a lot of rock music in the house all the time, constantly. One of my earliest memories is my dad listening to music on the headphones and putting the headphones on my ears.
Flute, guitar, and like trumpet and drums as well. When I was 7, I started playing flute, and yeah, since then I started studying music, and I got involved in different musical groups. It was quite weird because since I was 4 or 5 years old, I was telling my mom, I wanna buy this instrument. And so once I got a certain age, I got a flute. Then I got accepted into a musical school. So I continued with like different instruments. So basically, it was myself who wanted to learn different instruments.
I play percussion, which encompasses a lot of different things. So it's more than just one single instrument. In fact, it's an infinite number of instruments when you get right down to it. Well, early on, it wasn't exactly voluntary. So it was something that my mother insisted that we do in public school. But I seemed to take to it a little differently than my siblings. So although when I arrived at college orientation, I was intending to do architecture, but just something at the last minute when I filled out the final bit of paperwork decided to change to music. So that's when I declared my major in music.
I didn't have much really little. You know, I grew up in the country. I grew up in a small town, and there wasn't a whole lot. I didn't really know what I was trying to emulate. You know, I had a teacher in high school, Mr. Davis, and he got rid of his record player because he bought a CD player. This is when CD players came out. Mm-hmm. And so he gave me his record player and a whole bunch of records. And I had never really I was playing classical music, but I never heard it very much. It made a lot more sense after that to know what it's supposed to sound like.
Before it all started, because my mother was playing 80 songs and everything, and that was just like the push, what made me start to like wanted to play and wanted to play different things. So yeah, I started in the 80s, then I started listening to like bands like AC/DC, Metallica, Megadeth. I was really, back when I was like 15, 16, I was a metalhead, and I always wanted to play those kind of songs and guitar. I remember I tried to save money to buy a guitar and an amp, and I did. I finally got it, and I started playing those songs. I remember my mom was mad because I was playing the entire day those rock songs, which was really annoying, which I totally understand, and but I thought it was great.
I started when I was really young, like say 6 years old, and then I performed as a soloist when I was 10 years old. And I remember it was the song called Little Star, and I was really bad, really, really bad. And I felt so good, but I was really bad. So I think like what it makes me continue with the music was you're really stressed before you have the performance, and then when you go out of in the scenario and everyone claps you, that's what you receive from them, and that's like how you make everything to keep on going.
Performed when I was 8. I remember it was quite stressing. I played drums. I started in a small group, so the first time I played drums, and then I continued changing instruments, and I ended up playing trumpet.
My all-time favorite memory was one that actually happened like here. The first Friday, so we had just moved in on Thursday, and we were here Friday. The chorale had a rehearsal before we sang at the new student orientation dinner, and it was just the like feeling of being in a collegiate level choir where everybody wanted to be there and everybody was there for the same reason, and they weren't, and like nobody was doing it like halfway. Like everybody was in it to win it, and they were all there, and that feeling of being around people that are doing it because they love to do it is just something that was really great to me.
I had to learn a concerto in 10 days one time because they told me the wrong information, and it was a big concert, like it was a great opportunity. I was playing overseas, and I couldn't say no. And so I just remember I was in my friend's apartment, and I didn't know how to turn the heat on or anything. It was really cold, and working. He had a nice grand piano though, and he was gone over Christmas break, and so I just stayed there and just all day long playing the piano until I learned this big. Having to learn a piece like that in that short time is terrible, but it's good to know I can do it if I ever.
In Costa Rica, we have festivals, and they are called light festivals. One of them was in my province. It was quite big, and we were around 90 players. So it was quite interesting because we traveled for 2 hours. We played at night. There were like so many people, and I think that's like my best memory I have.
I think the greatest musical memory I had is back in UWC. In my second year, I was in a band, like a mock cover band called Nip Nip and the Bacon Strips, and we played in this music festival, and I remember we played 10 songs, and we were opening for a really famous band. We're opening a concert for a really famous band in Costa Rica called Sonambulo, and I think that's just like the best memory I have of a music performance I've ever had.
I think that Arturo Sandoval is one of my favorite artists, because he's considered one of the best trumpetists in the world. One of the things I remember about him is that he used to train in a stadium in order to hear himself. So every day he was going to that stadium to train for about 4 hours. And yeah, he really inspired me, because that was his goal, to be one of the best trumpetists in the world, and he is.
I admire so many people and so many musicians, because I think that music is just a way of you expressing yourself, and when someone does it, I really respect them. I think I really admire like artists like Matt Corby. Hosier is really good.
I really love Celine Dion, just because she has a really nice. I just love her voice. Like, it's her voice. I guess like I can use musician loosely to say like bands and stuff, but I also love Coldplay just because like of the lyrics that he puts into his songs and stuff. And those are like my two favorites.
I admire my grandfather. He's a singer, and he actually inspired me so much, because I'm the only grandchild that play any instrument. So he was really proud of me, and he always used to go to my concerts, so that made me really happy and proud of him.
The greatest challenge of all was like learning how to sing, because you can sing in the shower and whatever, but like there's an actual method to singing. Like one of the hardest thing was learning how to breathe and like sing properly, because you don't just sing, you sing with your abdomen, and so you have to like flex your abs and push your abdomen out so that you can get a good amount of air in your lungs.
Biggest challenge was to find the time, because I was doing like a lot of stuff. I was playing football, I was, as I told you before, I was acting, and finding the time was a bit difficult. So I had to organize myself and try to find like different holes in order to practice more, in order to become better.
So in terms of strengths, my strength probably lies in the fact that I do a lot of different things in music, and that is critical to my enjoyment, my expression in music. But in that, the weaknesses probably come exactly from the same points, that I do a lot of different things in music. I've never really had the luxury of focusing purely on one avenue of music. I've never had the luxury of just being a drum set player or just being a marimba player. And so in that, there's going to be the specialists, which will outshine me in any turn. But in terms of fulfillment, wouldn't change the way that I do music on a regular basis.
I didn't really grow up in like a musical scene, like, you know, none of my family was very musical, but definitely growing up in a very Southern Baptist church influenced like some of my taste in choir music, at least. Like, I love singing in other languages. I love singing French and Latin. It makes me feel connected to other people just because I'm singing in their language, even though I don't know the language or speak it myself.
When I was 9 or 10 years old, I started doing theater, and I was performing in different theatrical groups. I was doing as well different musical theater performances. So what I did is that I started mixing music with theater, and I think that really helped me to get more interested in music, and at the same time to enjoy both theater and music.
Again, we're all the product of our environment. We're all the product of our upbringing, and even here in the United States, it's possible to have very different experiences pertaining to music. I grew up in a situation where I was in church for probably 5 days a week, and so I got a lot of church music. And even as I compose music, I can't really shake what my core development of music was like. And that's true for everybody. You know, what was playing in my house was probably very different from what was playing in your house. And there's some people who have no music in their house growing up at all, and no exterior sources of it. So it's critical. It is everything, but it doesn't mean that you're exclusively locked into that as well. I mean, we all naturally at some point developmentally are interested in hearing and exploring new music.
I will definitely say that even though you think it sounds really bad, just keep going. My teacher used to tell me there is 98% of keep going and 2% of talent. So it's not about talent, it's about you keep going and you keep trying, even though don't give up and try your best every time that you performance.
Starting anything is really hard and complicated at the beginning. Yeah, no instrument is easy. You just have to be perseverant in what if you really want to do it, you will do it someday. And yeah, I think the only advice I can give is like not to give up. It can be tiring, especially if you like want to play an earned instrument. It can be tiring. Your lips will hurt. If you want to play a string instrument, your fingers can hurt. But I think it's just a matter of patience and perseverance.
I think the advice is to play, to practice, to do what the professor tells you, but at the same time to try to find different ways of learning. And I think, yeah, it's very important to start at the really early age. It is actually scientifically proved. It helps you to develop like different skills, and you're gonna have more years of experience.
It's never too late to start, especially if you're talking about performing music. I've had students as young as 4, and I've had students as old as 60 that are starting to learn for the first time. And it's never too late. Again, all of us on some level experience music mainly through our culture, mainly through our entertainment. So it can be through television, through video games, even our cell phones and things. All have music constantly going, whether we realize it or not. So it's there, and everybody loves music on some level. I don't know that I've ever met anyone who hates to hear organized sounds that are beautiful and pleasing, and it's just I haven't encountered that individual yet. So we all love it on some level. So no, it's never too late to start. And if you're starting at the age of 60 or 70, does it mean that you're going to be a world-renowned concert pianist? Probably not. But will you feel a sense of fulfillment? Sure, and that's really what it's about.
I mean, I love working with adult beginners. I have a lot of those. I've had a lot of those students through the years, and they're great. I mean, because they're there because they want to be there. Little kids are there because their mommy and daddy are sort of forcing them to go. But with adults, they decided to, take their hard-earned money and spend it on piano lessons, and because it's something they're really, really excited about. So that part is easy. I mean, I have a certain set of repertoire pieces. I have a book that I use that's pretty good, and it usually gets them going. But yeah, those adults are amazing. They learn a lot, especially if they're really inspired, motivated. It's usually not that hard to get them into it.
Something that you actually feel, and if you like it, you continue doing it, and there is a point where you actually love it. And yeah, that's what happened to me.
Music, there are patterns. And I mean, music is basically math. Definitely, it's an outlet for people. And so you can see what it was going on in their lives through the music of that era. Like you go back to the 20s, 30s, 40s, and you have that nice classical, like Frank Sinatra feel. It's one of my favorite time periods, like 40s and 50s. And then you move up and you get to like the 70s and 80s, and you got that like new funk poppy, like that 80s feel of music, which is something else I also love. I love 80s music. And then it gets to the 90s, and it's like you can feel like a little bit, from what I've listened to and stuff, it feels a little bit sadder. And then the 2000 hits, and it's like everybody's excited again. And then now there's just so many branches of music, so many kinds of music, that it's like everybody has their own type. Even if you don't think there's a type that's just for you, I mean, there is. And I feel like as we evolve, music evolves with us because we make the music. Even when you look back way in history, like when you have like Negro spirituals, you have that soul and that spirit that's just put in them, like it's welded into them, and you can feel what they're feeling when you're singing it. And then back, really classical pieces, Bach, Mozart stuff, you can feel how they're feeling. The songs, even though they're in Latin, you know what the tone is. Like one of them is the Lacrimosa, and it's a sad song. It's basically like he's in pain, and you can feel that in the music. And so it's definitely, it changes as we change.
This is also, it's difficult because depending on where you're from, depending on regionally around the world, music can be very different. It can sound very different. And so you're dealing with, of course, the aesthetics that you're, we'll say, enculturated to appreciate. But even simply so, in terms of art music, there's a lot of room for interpretation of what music is, even as people create it. I think back just a couple of years ago, we had a composer here who wrote a piece exclusively for Water Bottle and a sine wave, and that still is room for debate in our department. Some people say that's absolutely not music, and some absolutely embrace it as music. So I think that just comes with the appreciation comes with exposure. All music has value to some extent. I truly believe that. But that doesn't mean that we all have to like everything that we hear, everything that is considered by others to be music. And that's the beauty of it, because what touches me may not touch you and vice versa, but that doesn't make it any less significant.
I believe that there are different ways to make music. And I don't actually know how to define it, but what I could say is that without music, there won't be feelings, and there won't be, love. There won't be pureness.